Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to start our new chapter, that is data communication and network. In this lecture, we will be discussing the basics of data communication and networks, the important communication models, and the important concepts within networks and data communications will be discussed in this chapter. Let's see the outline or the agenda items that we are going to cover in this chapter. This is the agenda or outline for this chapter. First, we are going to discuss what is data communication in order to develop our understanding with the topic. After we have established an understanding with data communication, then we are going to explore further more items and necessary concepts within data communication. The first important component is the elements of data communication. What are different elements that constitute or that ensures data communication? We will be discussing different elements. Then we will discuss different types of data communication. Mostly there are two types, serial and parallel, and we'll be discussing how both of these work. The last topic for data communication are the modes being used for data communication. What are different modes of data communication and how they work? We'll be discussing this in this chapter. After data communication, next we'll be developing our understanding with network. What is a network? How it is formed, that we are going to discuss in this chapter. Once our understanding with the topic is developed, then we are going to discuss different modes of communication that are being used in network. And after different modes, we are going to discuss how many types of networks are commonly available. And they include commonly LAN, MAN, and WAN. How they work, what are their capacity, we are going to discuss this in this chapter. So let's begin our discussion with the data communication. The first topic that we are going to discuss is to develop our understanding with the term data communication. What basically data communication is. So let's see what is data communication and what is its importance. Data communication mainly refers to the exchange of information between two agents. This is the common definition for data communication. Data communication, that means we have to communicate some data or information. So between two parties, data needs to be communicated. So the formal definition of data communication is to exchange data or information between two parties. One of the parties or one of the agents is called the source that generates the data, while the other agent is known as the receiver that receives the data. Simply we can say that data transfer or the transfer of information from one point to another back and forth is known as data communication. Data communication is commonly done through some transmission or communication media. The media include the wire, the cables, or there may be some wireless media such as Wi-Fi. So we can define now data communication as the exchange or transmission of digital data or information between two or more computers. The connection required between these computers, between these communicating computers, in order to make possible the data communication is generally a physical connection in the form of either a cable media or some wireless media. Now, the question is, why data communication is required? There are different reasons why we perform data communication. For example, data communication is required for resource sharing, such as we can share printers with different computers and storage devices. For example, you normally store your emails on some third-party storage devices. And data communication is also required for the exchange of information that we normally do using emails. Another benefit or requirement for data communication is that information sharing is made possible through it, such as by using internet or web, we can share information between two communicating parties. It is also used as an interaction mechanism between different users. So this is another benefit for data communication. It can also be used for video conferences, while data communication is also used in instant messaging. When you send a text message on phone to your friend, it's actually a type of data communication. So these are some of the benefits or some of the reasons why we perform data communication. There are many more. You can explore them yourself. So, what is data communication? It is actually the exchange of information or data between two electronic devices. And this communication is generally made possible through some communication or communicating media or channel that can be a wired media or can be a wireless media. I hope you must have now developed an understanding with the term data communication and why it is required. Now, after we have established understanding with the term, next we are going to explore different elements within the data communication, or the elements that form or that complete the data communication process. Now, what are the elements that complete data communication model or data communication process? Basically, there are three elements, basically, but as the picture shows, some more elements I'll be discussing which are required to ensure data communication, but basic are the three. The first one is the sender or the transmitter, which is normally a computer or any electronic device which can create or generate data or information and has the capability to transfer it. Such a device is known as the sender or transmitter. This is the first element. Without a sender, data is not communicated. The second element is the data or message. It is the important and useful aspect of data communication system. Data or message simply refers to the piece of information that is required to be communicated between different parties. Data can be in any form, such as a text file, an audio file, or a video file, even the live streams. The third important element is the receiver. A receiver is a computer or any electronic device that has the capability to receive the data and respond back. Well, receivers may or may not respond back, but it has the capability to receive the data that is being sent by the sender. Now, these three are the basic elements of data communication. We now need to explore some more elements. The communication media is the fourth important element of data communication. Media carries the data or through which data can travel. We can also call them communication channels. Media is actually the physical path between the sender and the receiver in data communication model. The path can be either wired, such as cables, or it can be unwired, which we also called wireless communication, such as Wi-Fi. Now, another important element is the protocol. Protocol is actually the set of rules. To govern the data communication, various set of rules had already been designed by the designers of the communication systems that represent a kind of agreement between the two communicating devices. These are defined as protocols. So set of rules are known as protocols. Simply you can say a protocol is a set of rules that govern the data communication. If two different devices are connected, but there is no protocol between them, there would not be any kind of communication possible between them. Thus, the protocol is necessary for data communication to take place. Protocol offers many functions, such as data sequencing. It is a process of breaking a long message into smaller blocks. Long message is divided into small packets of same sizes. This technique also reduces amount of data that is transmitted if an error is occurred. Next function is data routing. It is a process of finding the most efficient and smaller path between the source and the destination before sending the data. This method also increases the efficiency of data communication. Another important function is data flow. All computers are not efficient in terms of speed, so data flow is the process that controls data transmission properly if the sender computer is faster than the receiver computer. So data flow controls the transmission of data between two devices. Another function is encoding. Computer works with binary numbers, as you all know. It stores all types of data in form of binary digits. Data is converted to binary form before it is stored in computer. So the process of converting data in binary form is known as data encoding. So these are some of the functions of protocol. There are many more others as well. Now let's come to the image here. We have discussed all the important elements and we can see those elements in this diagram. Here you can see there is a computer which serves as a sender. And then there is a computer that works as a receiver. Then there has to be some data or message that is being communicated between the sender and the receiver. That can be some email, that can be some video file, or that can be some text file. This communication is made possible with this transmission channel or transmission or communication media. Here you can see either it can be a wireless media such as Wi-Fi, or it can be some wired media. While this transmission of messages is governed by the use of protocols, sender has to follow the same protocol as being used by the receiver. Only then data communication is possible. Now, what are the types of data communication? This is our next topic of discussion. Different types of data communication will be discussed next. Data is transferred in form of bits between two or more digital devices. Two very common methods are used to transmit data between digital devices. That include serial communication and parallel transmission. Serial transmission sends data bits by bits, one after another, over a single channel, while parallel data transmission sends multiple data bits at the same time over multiple channels. Now let's discuss both of them in detail. In serial transmission, When data is sent or received over serial transmission, data bits are organized in specific order. Since they can only be sent one after another, the order of the data bits is important as it dictates how the transmission is organized when it is received. So here in this diagram you can see the sequence of data that is being sent and its organization during the transmission is important. So in whatever format it is sent, it is received in the same format here, as you can see. But serial transmission is known as the reliable data transmission because data bit is only sent if the previous data bit has already been received. That is why it is a slow method of data communication. Serial transmission is normally used for long distance data transfer. It is also used in cases where the amount of data being sent is relatively small. It ensures that data integrity is maintained as it sends data bits in specific order, one after another, so that the bits are received in some synchronized form with one another. So whatever is sent has to be ensured to be received in that specific order it has been sent. So the data synchronization is important in serial communication. Next type of communication is, or next type of data transmission is parallel data transmission or parallel data communication. When data is sent using parallel transmission, multiple data bits are transmitted over multiple channels at the same time. Here you can see there are multiple channels. In this diagram you can see multiple channels are there and data are sent at the same time over these channels. While in case of serial there was just single data transmission line. Here you can see this arrow. This means data can be sent much faster. So parallel data communication is faster as compared to serial data communication. As the multiple bits are sent over multiple channels at the same time, the order in which a bit string is received can depend on various conditions such as the user location and bandwidth. So it is not ensured if the data that is sent in whatever order is received in the same order. The benefits the parallel communication brings is that it is faster way of data communication as compared to the serial one and is quite easier to program, though it sends data faster and it requires more transmission channels than the serial transmission. This means data bits can be out of synchronization depend on transfer distance and how fast each bit loads. So data that is being transferred may not be synchronized when they are received. Parallel transmission is used when a large amount of data is required to be sent. Data that is sent is time sensitive and data needs to be sent quickly. So time sensitive data or the data that you want to send quickly can be used using this type of data communication. Video streaming is the very common example of parallel transmission. Bits need to be sent quickly to avoid video pausing or buffering. I hope you have understood the difference between both types of data communication. Serial communication is the reliable one, as it ensures every bit of data being sent is received in the same proper order. While parallel communication, though it ensures fast communication, but the data that is being sent may not be in the same order at the receiving end. Let's have a recap of today's discussion. In today's discussion, we started data communication and network. The first topic that we discussed was what is data communication. We will be discussing networks in the coming lectures. How we can define data communication. Data communication is mainly the exchange of data or information between two parties. One party is known as the sender, the transmitter, or the source that has the capability to generate or create the data or information, while the other party is known as the receiver that receives the information sent by the source. Then we discussed different benefits that we obtain by ensuring data communication, or what are the benefits of data communication. There are different benefits or different reasons why we perform data communication. For example, we discussed data communication is required for resource sharing. For example, we can share different hardware resources between two digital devices, such as printers and storage devices. You might have used remote storage for storing your emails. So this is one of the example of resource sharing using data communication. Another benefit that we discussed is data communication is used for the exchange of information by means of sending and receiving emails. So you send emails to your peers for exchange of some information. Another benefit that we discussed for data communication was information sharing by using internet or web. You can send links of some website to your friends, and this is known as information sharing, which can be done using data communication. While other benefits, or the very important one you can say, is that we use data communication for interactions with others. So this is one of the mechanisms from which you can interact with your friends and family, either through emails, either through calls from video call or audio calls. And it also can be used for video conferences. So this is another benefit of data communication. Instant messages is a form of data communication. So when you send text messages through your phones to your family and friends, so that means you are actually performing data communication. So there are many more other benefits as well. These are some of the benefits that we can get if we ensure data communication. Then we discussed different elements that complete the data communication system. Mainly there are three elements: a sender who sends or generates or creates the message. Then there has to be the message that is sent between sender and receiver. And then the third important element is the receiver, who receives the message sent from the sender. These are three basic elements that form data communication model. But we also discussed some other elements that include the protocol. Protocol means set of rules in order to govern the data communication process. We said various set of rules had been designed by the designers of the communication system. So set of rules or protocols are basically kind of agreement between the two communicating devices. They define the rules how data is to be written, how data is to be sent, and how data is to be received. Another element that we discussed was the communication media that carries the data or through which data can travel. It is known as the media or the communication channel. Media is mainly the physical path between the sender and the receiver within the data communication model. This path can be either wired, such as cables, or that can be unwired, which is also known as wireless communication, which you use in case of Wi-Fi. So these are some of the elements or the main elements that complete the data communication model. Then we discussed the mode of communication or the methods of data communication. Mainly there are two methods used for data communication, that is serial transmission and parallel transmission. Serial transmission sends data bits one after another over a single line or single channel, while parallel data transmission can send multiple data bits at the same time over multiple channels. With serial transmission, when data is sent, the data bits are organized in specific order, since they can only be sent one after another. So it is important to notice the order of data sent, and the order in which it is sent has to be received in the same order. So the ordering of data is important in serial transmission. Serial transmission is a reliable data transmission because data bit is only sent if the previous data bit has already been received by the receiver. Since it is a reliable mode of transmission, but it is also a slow type of transmission, as it requires acknowledgement from the receiver for the receipt of the previous data bit. Only then next data bit is sent. While in case of parallel transmission, when data is sent, multiple data bits are transmitted over multiple channels at the same time. That means data can be sent much faster as compared to the serial communication. Why? Because multiple bits are sent over multiple channels at the same time. So here, the order in which data bit string is received can depend on various conditions such as user location and bandwidth. So the data bits sent in an order may not be received in the same order. The data string that is sent first may be received at last. The benefits parallel transmission brings is that it is faster way of data communication and quite easy to program. Since it uses more than single data communication channels. But the problem it brings along is that data can be out of synchronization as it depends on the transfer distance and how fast each bit string is sent. These are the topics that we discussed in today's discussion. We will continue our discussion on data communication in the coming lecture as well, and we'll discuss some more topics within the data communication. That is all for now. If you have any queries related to today's discussion, you can email me. My email address is written here, or text me on KCMS. I thank you all for now.